it looks like he's probably gonna become, famous like he should have been to begin with. So it looks like, the character really does have a bright future.
Okay, so you might need some background info. This video is a follow-up to a documentary I made in high school. I was never really proud of it. I mean, not that it was bad, it's just that for something that had a rich history, I felt like I never really delivered everything that I needed to say about it. And to be fair, there was so many limitations on it, but it wasn't bad. It worked fine. It did well. It entertained people, and I've heard people say that it was good. There's nothing wrong with that. So, what's this about? Well, if you go back to that original documentary, which I have the link below, so no worries there. I gotta be honest, I called it wrong. I expected something so much better, but that's really not the case. I don't want to sound like I'm, some kind of angry customer or anything. It's just that, years ago, you'd figured, hey, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, he's gonna be going places. He's a character with rich history, and, Disney's gonna be taking advantage of it. And that's not where anything went.
And now, a brief history of Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Oswald the Lucky Rabbit was created by Walt Disney in 1927. After a successful string of shorts, Walt goes to the studio, Universal, asking for more money to produce higher quality shorts. Universal says, nah! So he gets the boot. He goes off to create Mickey while building up his independent studio that eventually devours a bunch of other studios, but that's another story, so back to Oswald. Oswald is given to Charles Mintz, the guy who screwed over Walt Disney, so karma hits his cheap Oswald shorts, resulting in him getting booted off as well. And Walter Lantz, creator of Woody Woodpecker, taking over, and his shorts are a bit better, but it doesn't really matter because by the end, Oswald doesn't even look like himself, so yeah, why even bother? And that's about it, at least until decades later, when current Disney CEO Bob Iger decides, hey, you know what, I want to buy Oswald, let's buy Oswald, but he doesn't buy Oswald, he just trades off a football guy over to Universal, and they're like, f it, here's your rabbit, we're not even using him, and this results in Oswald being back at Disney, where he came in to do Warren Spector game?
At this point, I'm sure you're wondering, why do you care so much? And to be honest, I've asked myself this. I don't have anything at stake. Whether or not Oswald ever gets brought up again will in no way affect my life. It's not gonna get better, it's not gonna get worse, so why? And that's the funny thing. I get that it doesn't matter in the end, yet I'm still disappointed. I'm almost passionate about my disappointment. I mean, look, just to be clear, I love learning the origins of things. I mean, the history of how even a powerful man like Walt Disney had a character stolen from him is fascinating. Of course, it's tragic, but to think that even Walt Disney was weak once, that he used that moment as a point to move away from Universal, to go independent, eventually running the most known entertainment brand, that's an amazing story. The most interesting part of the story is seeing that studio, the one that Walt Disney created, eventually rescue Oswald. They got him back.
A second chance is what we all deserve.
And that's not even a happy ending. Does the world even care that much more for Oswald than they did a few years ago when they never knew him? I don't have a true answer for you. I'm not here to say that Oswald needs to be in everything. I'm not even saying that Mickey should be pushed aside. I mean, after decades away from the spotlight, Mickey's not going to be pushed aside. That's for sure. I'm just saying that they could at least try to give some spotlight to Oswald. 2 epic Mickey games, only one of which where he was actually playable, is not enough from Disney. This is a character who was taken from Walt Disney, which was an important factor for where we are today. I mean, just imagine it. Had Walt not lost Oswald, we might not even have a Walt Disney Studio today. Oswald the Lucky Rabbit returns home and all we've seen of him are a few cameos. I know Disney has been busy snatching up studios left and right, but if they can release several Star Wars films within a few years, along with beefing up the Marvel film division, I don't think it's wrong to ask, hey Disney, please try to make Oswald relevant. 13 years after, and all we have to show for it are a couple of games most people have forgotten, a few blink and you'll miss cameos, some merchandise that is mostly found at Disney parks, a gift shop at California Adventure, a collection of his shorts for collectors, and a few other things. When laid out like that, it sounds fine, right? Well, if you were from any other company, sure, but this is Disney we're talking about. A company that thrives so much on its own nostalgia, found ways to sell your childhood via straight-to-video sequels and live-action recreations of its own movies. Everything done with Oswald keeps him in the public eye, but is he on the public's mind? Do people even look at Oswald and know who he is beyond the product sold by Disney? People know who Mickey is. People know Stitch. People know Cinderella. Who is Oswald to people? It's like when people buy products of this cat. They might know it's a Disney cat. They may even know where she's from. But do they even know her name? It's Marie, by the way. Just because you see a product doesn't mean you know the character. That is where Oswald is at. Which isn't the worst thing in the world, admittedly, but it's just so disappointing for a character who already has a pretty tragic history. As I said earlier, Oswald doesn't need to be in everything, but he should be out there more. I attended a 2017 D23 panel wherein Bob Iger mentioned there were plans for Oswald to be in more. I had high hopes that he meant a movie after some Photoshop jokes he presented. No movie announcements. Okay, maybe a theme park attraction, like a history of animation to go along with California's animation building. No attraction announcements. Okay. How about a show? No announcements, just an empty promise. I'm not calling Bob a liar. I'm sure they have plans. Whether or not they're major plans, I don't know, but I lean on the not side for now. Truth be told, since I started production on this, I've hoped major news would break out proving me wrong, even if that means I'd have to rewrite this, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. Though, if my hopes were to happen, I'd probably even get a call from Disney to pitch my idea for an Oswald movie, but the reality is, as we are now, Oswald is doomed to be a character with empty promises, so whatever. Anyways, my disappointment with Oswald has been the realization and acceptance that the Mouse House is just another company. I've always known that, sure, but back when I made that original documentary, part of me believed that Disney had turned into a friendlier company. That thought ran for years. I mean, just look at their output in recent years, especially in the companies they bought. But like all things, it comes to an end. Sure, Disney still entertains me, and by no means am I saying that I don't like them anymore. But however consistently good their decisions were for years, it was always about the bottom line. James Gunn got fired when Disney figured that he might affect that. Lord and Miller were kicked out when it seemed that they didn't play well with the franchise. And Oswald doesn't get to do more because there is no guaranteed profit from him. Just a feel-good story about his return. At one point in the documentary I made for high school, I was interviewed about Oswald. My thoughts on him to be exact. I cannot accurately tell you what was on my mind when I was asked if I preferred Oswald over Mickey. It's a hard question because at the end of the day, as a character, Oswald is Mickey, just without the evolution to corporate mascot. What I can say after crafting this video response years later is that I do prefer Oswald. Maybe not as a character, but as a piece of history. Looking at it from a meta point of view, Oswald definitely has the more interesting story to tell. So, he's still an unlucky rabbit, and maybe that changes, maybe it doesn't. What I can say is that I still hope it gets better, even if the signs aren't there. All that being said, I don't think the announcement of an Oswald movie or a show will change his status much. He'll be more known, sure, but with such a huge gap in the history, I doubt it makes a difference. He'll likely always be remembered as the character who was forgotten, rather than a character on his own right, and I'm fine with that. Going through this journey of making this, I no longer feel mad or disappointed all that much. I still hope I get to see them do more with the character than simple merchandise most people don't see, but I'm not demanding it much. Companies do what they desire to make money, so if it's just this for the rest of his lifespan, okay, it's not good, but I accept it, because I do have an answer for the question I had earlier. Oswald's current fate as a disposable product isn't good. But, you know, he is better than he was before, because people do care about him just a bit more than when he was wasting away at Universal. Some people will buy his things, others will learn about him, and maybe someday he gets to have one more moment to shine in front of an audience. It's not the best, it doesn't change his luck by much, but it does mean he gets some recognition, even if it's just as a piece of history, and nothing more. And that's okay.
Lucky rabbit, that lucky Oswald rabbit, nicest rabbit that you ever knew. Lucky habit, that lucky Oswald habit, if you want it, here's what you must do.
Okay, I had nowhere else to put this in the video, so let me talk about Epic Mickey now. Despite what I may hint in the video, I do like these games. My issue, beyond them being average in gameplay, is that they're both fairly disappointing games. The first game has a great story and a good atmosphere and location, but it never feels like the world is fully realized. I get Disney has a lot of nostalgia going for it, but surely they own more forgotten characters than that. It's fun, but nothing I'd highly recommend outside the story. Which begs the question, why not make it a movie? I'm sure as a movie, Epic Mickey would have been more iconic. Instead, we just get a fun bargain bin title. 2, on the other hand, is just average. The gameplay is average, the story is average, nothing remotely stands out besides some neat voice work and music, so it really is a bargain bin title, regardless of context. Okay, I'm done now, go home.